Hi everyone. I wish I had one of those like movie chalkboard things because this is, believe it or not, take 3 on this video. I just finished filming and I went back and looked at how much time it took, and I was over 30 minutes doing this, which is way too long. No one's going to watch anything for that long on YouTube, even if you're that interested in knowing what I have to say about what I do in human resources. So I'm going to do this again, take 4, and make it a lot more concise. If you want me to expand on any of the questions that I'm about to answer, just shoot me a message and I'll be sure to answer those either in a video or I'll type something up for you. So the purpose of this video is to talk about human resources and talk about what we do. Those of you that follow my blog or are subscribers and readers, every once in a while I love to interview and profile someone in the industry. Sometimes it's people I know or have worked with, and sometimes it's just people that I've connected with professionally through LinkedIn, etc. That can speak to what it's like to work in the field. I have a back and forth interview that I'm still working on with a colleague of mine from a previous company that I'm currently working on. But in the midst of that, I got a message online and they said, "Why don't you interview yourself?" And I thought, well, I kind of do that when I write on my blog, but maybe I don't. I don't know. So they said, you should do a Q&A with yourself. Okay, I'll do a Q&A. So I reached out to colleagues and some of my subscribers and asked them to send me the HR Q&A questions that they'd like me to speak to and answer. And so I came up with 10 questions, and as I said, I'll try to answer them as succinctly as possible while giving good information. So what do I do right now? In a nutshell, as you can see, I'm at home. I'm on what I'll call a pause. Not really in a layoff state because of the type of work that I do, but I'm in an HR or a job pause for now while the pandemic is going on. I can't travel, I can't get to my workplace, so here I am. But I'm still an HR person, I'm still chipping away at what I can, and currently I'm putting my skills to use by volunteering, career coaching skills, but also anyone that needs their resume looked at, feedback given, or they need their resume or CV reworked or rewritten, I'll help them with that. And I'll do it completely for free. So anyone that's displaced due to COVID-19, if you want career coaching or resume or CV assistance, free of charge, waiving all my fees, happy to help. You can reach out to me by commenting below or through my blog. You can just send me a little note and we can connect that way. So that's what I'm doing right now. Question number 2, what did I do before HR? The easiest way that I like to answer that is I think I've always kind of worked in human resources. I see that my career has had a natural arc into a specific formalized HR role, but I actually started as a flight attendant and then very quickly got into training and instructing, then got into training development, writing training courses. Then I started working more in full-time adult education, again, still within the airline industry. And then I stepped into instructional design. I went back to university and I studied an instructional design and curriculum development program at the Mount Royal University in Calgary. And then I got into more people development. So leadership development, looking at organizational development, coaching, and then got into more people learning and development. So getting away from technical programs, aviation related, etc., and getting more into everything from company orientation to corporate culture to leadership development to senior management development, career coaching, and again, organizational development, to where I am now in a formal HR leadership role, running an HR department, where I have learning and development, I have administration, I have compensation and benefits, legal, all of that rolled into one together. That was how did I get into HR, I think? Yeah, okay. So we're on to question number 4. What do I wish I knew before about HR that I know now? Honestly, it's not as scary as I thought. I grew up thinking that HR was the department of bad news, that they were the traffic cops of the company, that they were there to get people in trouble. And even today, I get it when I meet people that find out what I do, And very often they say to me, "Oh, you're the person that hires and fires." No, that is like this much of what I do. There's so much more to HR. And frankly, there's this much of bad news in HR. There's this much of good news and things to be really excited and proud about. So I wish I knew that when I was much younger, because HR is not scary, it's very fulfilling and a lot of fun. Question number 5. What do I like most about my job in HR? Some of you might think that it's very corny of me to say this, but I'll back it up. I love making people's dreams come true. That's what fuels me. That's what gets me excited to get up and work every day in human resources. It can be something small, reuniting a couple that are working in 2 different locations by transferring one to the other spouse's work location to keep them together. Happy employees, happy customers, happy company. It's very simple. I don't love math, but that's math that I can get behind. But also seeing people get promoted, working very hard on their role to do well, to get through very difficult interview processes, and to achieve what their goals are. I love nothing more than providing rewards and recognition, giving service awards, thanking employees for 5 years, 10 years, 15. I even got to thank a senior leader with the last company I worked with by giving him his 40-year service award. He worked for that company for 40 years, and in fact, he still works there. That is very cool, very fun, and not bad news at all. So I knew this was going to come. What do I like the least about HR? I kind of have 2 answers for that. The first one is very simple. My least favorite thing to do is compensation and benefits. That's just an area of HR that isn't the most interesting to me. People will have all sorts of different interests. I love learning development. I love teaching. I love education. I love coaching. But there are people that don't like that. They do not like standing in front of a classroom. I have HR colleagues that do the same job I do, and they are scared out of their mind to stand in front of a group of people and facilitate to them. Whereas for me, I love it. That gets me going every day and gets me excited. Compensation and benefits, not so much. Can I do it? Absolutely, yes I can. It is part of my role. I do have to be able to do it and know all about it. It's just not the first thing that I would jump up to do, and I would probably never accept a job that was solely compensation and benefits. The other thing that I like the least is giving bad news. As I said earlier, it's this much of the job, but I always told myself, if I ever take someone's job away from them, regardless of the reason I had to take their job away, if I ever have to do that, and I'm excited about it, or I thought, wow, that was really fun to do, it's time to quit and find something else. Okay, so question number 7. What HR leaders... Sorry, I have to mute the news. Number 7, what HR leaders inspire me? I have several. And some of them are HR-specific people, and actually, I'm kind of playing with this because it's my vlog, and I get to do what I want and make up my own rules. So what HR leaders or what leaders in general inspire me? First and foremost, I have to say it's Walt Disney. Those of you that might know me know that I'm a huge Disney fan. In fact, I'm a Disney geek. And it's not just because of the fun that I have doing anything Disney related. It's because I draw so much inspiration from what Disney is, from what the Walt Disney Company is and what they do. And some of the smartest, brightest people have come in and out of or are still at the Disney Company. Walt started with basically nothing and built what we see as the Walt Disney Company today. Parks and attractions, resorts, movies that have literally changed the fabric and culture of the world, among many, many other things that the Walt Disney Company does. I'm a big fan of quotes, and Walt has a couple that I really, really like and try to keep at the forefront of my mind in almost everything that I do. And one of them is that if you can dream it, you can do it. No matter what you set your mind to, you can get there. It might be hard. You might stumble. You might even fail along the way. But if it's something you can dream, you can do. I would love to see the look on Walt Disney's face today in 2020 to see what his dream has turned into for millions of people around the world. And going along with that dream, Walt said something else. famous that I really, really love. And that's that we should never lose sight of one thing, that it was all started by a mouse. Now, just if you think about that for a moment, that is incredible. One simple idea has turned into something that not only is a multi-billion-dollar corporation and entity globally, but it is something that inspires the hearts and minds of people every single day, mine included. There are other great Disney leaders that I love to follow. Lee Cockrell is one. He's a retired executive. He has some fantastic books that you can get from the Disney Institute. I recommend all of them. Some other leaders that inspire me. Susan Scott, she founded Fierce Inc., which is a think tank and leadership development company in Seattle, Washington. She wrote 2 books that you should look at, Fierce Conversations and Fierce Leadership. One thing I really like about her, another quote that I live by every day, the conversation is the relationship. Think about that. But also, I love to think about another leader, Simon Sinek. I like a lot of authors. Bit of a trend there. It's kind of accidental. Simon Sinek wrote a book called Start With Why. He wrote other books. I'm not going to name them because you literally have to start with why. But the first thing you actually have to do is watch his YouTube video. He did a TED Talk in Washington State where he shared his concept of starting with why. Give it a watch. It's really inspiring, and it's really, really interesting how we often think in terms of how and what, and yet cannot answer the why. One of his powerful questions is, if you have a spouse or a child, why do you love them? You'll tend to give an answer, well, because I do. They're my spouse or they're my child. But that's not the why. So watch the video and you'll be able to figure out why you can't answer that objectively and how you might be able to. Other leaders that inspire me are people that I think about when I'm tackling a tough HR situation, those that I've worked with. A lady named Rebecca who works for Smart in Calgary, Alberta. She gave me my first job as a flight attendant, and she is an incredibly skilled HR professional. She inspired me to pursue learning and development and being an instructor, and that's really where it all started for me. Another HR leader that I really adore is Shandi Nye. She's also from Calgary, Alberta. She gave me my job at Holt Renfrew back a million years ago when I worked in the cosmetics business. That's for another video. But she said something to me that I've never forgotten, and that was her goal as an HR manager was to take the welcome mat at Holt Renfrew and turn that into wall-to-wall carpeting. Just one simple saying, and I actually mentioned this to her a year ago, or 2 years ago maybe, and she didn't remember ever saying that. But that's how much of an impact just a couple words had on me years ago. So just think, the words we use today can have that kind of impact on other people. And then a good friend of mine, Sharon, coincidentally also in Calgary, Alberta, technically she's in a beautiful small town and enclave outside of Calgary. Sharon is an instructional designer, and she inspired me to pursue instructional design, to study it, to become better at it, and to incorporate that in everything that I do as an HR person. Her and I would laugh a lot because we had the same start date at WestJet Airlines. And there's so many things that were eye-opening for both of us on the airline side and on the HR and instructional design side. I channel her a lot when I'm tackled with a learning intervention that is a bit tough, or when I know that I'm going to have to propose something that's a learning idea that I'm going to get a lot of pushback on. I just picture that I have a little invisible Sharon on my shoulder that's helping to coach me through it. So those are my inspiring leaders. Question number 8 kind of carries on with that, and that's my favorite HR books. I have many. I already mentioned some of them. Fierce Conversations, Fierce Leadership, Start With Why by Simon Sinek. Any of the Disney Institute books are amazing, such as Be Our Guest. Lee Cockrell has a couple books. The most recent one I read that's fantastic is Time Management Magic. It sounds like such a simple, boring topic. I bought it because I had a credit, and I'm so glad I bought it. It's a fantastic book. Definitely worth giving it a read. There's another Disney book that's not an Institute-endorsed book, but you should be able to find it online. It's called Disney U. or Disney University. It talks all about how a gentleman by the name of Van France started with Walt way back in the day, early days of starting Disneyland in California, and how they trained their employees and really pioneered a concept that's very common now, and that's what they call OJT, or OTJ, on-the-job training. And it's this Disney philosophy that no one touches their workplace until they've been through orientation training. And for the Disney company, it means so much more than just sitting there and going through a PowerPoint of, here's who we are, know it. It's, Disney calls it traditions. And it literally starts everyone's Disney DNA, not just knowing the basics of the company history, but living it. And there's a direct correlation between companies that are very successful and have good brand recognition or positive brand recognition and those that don't. And a lot of this goes back to corporate culture and day one. Food for thought, worth a read. If you like getting into facts and figures a little bit more, there's a book called Good to Great. It's a heavier read, but it's also worthwhile giving a look at. So those are some of my favorite HR books that I look back at. Number 9 was How Does One Get Started in HR? There's so many ways. My advice to anyone considering it is be curious and ask lots of questions. Find HR people in the industry that are willing to mentor you and answer those questions. I love to share information. It costs me nothing. So if you can find someone to job shadow, to pick their brain, to ask them all the questions you're curious about, that's the first place to start. Do your best to get a little taste of working in HR to make sure that it's something that you think you'd like. And worst case scenario, let's say you did step into an HR role and it wasn't for you. That's okay. You figure that out and you just have to find a way to step out of it. But it's still worth it to do. And if you have any questions for me, all you have to do is leave a comment below, or you can send me a comment through my blog and I'll be sure to get back to you. And then my final thoughts. HR has given me so much. It's an incredibly rewarding career. I love what I do. I wished I'd pursued it sooner, but again, I had a misunderstanding of what working in HR really was, and I'm glad I busted that myth for myself. So my final thoughts are: be curious, it never hurts to try, and it's a very rewarding career.